That when we start this streaming, sir, we'll come to know.
Okay. Where is Mujib? Mujib is around or?
Sir is watching live in YouTube, sir.
Okay.
Right. I'm just going off the video here, but I'll start speaking. Dipti, all set?
Dipti is muted.
Yes, Uma, all set. You can go live.
Yeah, I'm starting. Good morning to our distinguished speaker and chief guest of the day, Dr. Rao Vadlamudi, sir. Welcome you, sir. And a very good
Thank you.
morning. And a very good morning and warm welcome to one and all who have joined today's live session and to those who are still joining. I request everyone to join quickly and not to miss this session, which is going to enlighten your thoughts on emerging as a future leader. It's indeed an honor that our academic advisor, Dr. Rao VSV sir, has accepted to our kind request to address the students in the event of National Pharmacy Week celebrations. Thank you so much for your kindness, sir, and always you are so welcoming our thoughts and supported us in every activity that is intended for the benefit of student community. Without making much delay, I would like to share a little about sir's contributions to the pharmacy community. Dr. Rao Vadlamudi sir has started his career in the year 1984 at University Department of Chemical Technology, now known as Institute of Chemical Technology, which is located in Mumbai. Sir has an overall 35 years plus experience in both academia as well as in the pharma industry in various capacities. The academic positions held by Sir include Reader in Pharmacology, UDCT, Professor in Pharmacology, Bombay College of Pharmacy, First ever Director of BCP, Director of St. Peter's Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Warangal, and Adjunct Professor Acharya B.M. Reddy College of Pharmacy, Bengaluru. Sir's industry career began in the year 1990 in the Host Research Center as a Head of Pharmacology Department, Head of Pharmacology in the Piramal Research Center, Vice President, Discovery Biology in Civil Life Sciences, Vice President and Principal Fellow, Nectar Therapeutics India Limited, and Senior Vice President, Life Sciences at Vinta Labs, Hyderabad. Sir was the editor of Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences, the official scientific publication of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association from the year 1996 to 2014. Sir has served as the president of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association for 2 terms, 2014 to 16 and 2016 to 18, and during this period, Sir was a member of the Drug Technical Advisory Board of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Currently, Sir is the president of the Commonwealth Pharmacists Association and a member of the governing body of the Life Sciences Sector Field Development Council of India. Sir has received many awards and fellowships. I would like to share a few with you guys today, which are Indian Pharmaceutical Association Fellowship Award in the year 2000, Dr. B.N. Ghosh Memorial Oration Award of the Indian Pharmaceutical Society in the year 2005, Professor M.L. Khorana Memorial Lecture Award of IPA in 2009, the Eminent Pharmacist Award of IPA in 2013, the IPA President Special Oration Award in 2014, and the Fellowship of the Association of Biotechnology and Pharmacy in December 2014. There are many, sir, but I'm really sorry to cut short because I wanted our students to gain the knowledge from you more. So we are so honored, and it's a great pleasure having you here addressing our younger generation today on how leaders evolve. The room is all yours, sir. We can start the session.
Thank you. And good morning to all the participants, students, and budding pharmacy professionals. I'm really pleased to talk to you on this topic in the context of Pharmacy Week. The National Pharmacy Week celebrations are going on throughout the country. And the main objective of the National Pharmacy Week is to bring to the awareness of all the stakeholders, public, the patients, the pharmaceutical industry, the other healthcare professionals, the government of India, the drug regulators, policymakers, NGOs, everybody who are concerned and care about health. The objective is to tell them, bring them to their awareness is that pharmacists are very important players of provision of health care. And they are the frontline warriors. They are the people who are in contact with patients, come what may, all the time, advising them. And we do that even during the pandemic. In the process, we put ourselves at risk, and some of our great warriors have even lost their lives. But we continue to serve the community, to the mankind, to serve the humanity. Now, under this scenario, pharmacists are frontline healthcare professionals. We continue to serve and we set up examples. Nevertheless, we also have to advocate about ourselves to the government to give us proper recognition and proper place that is necessary for us to be involved in healthcare profession. We are already there, but we need the recognition and we need the rightful place. Now, in this particular process, all the budding pharmacists, they need to understand our role, they need to respect the profession, and they need to work towards betterment of the profession, betterment of the professionals as well as the profession. For that, we require leaders among our younger generation. Among our young professionals, we have to inculcate leadership qualities and encourage leaders to evolve. And I thought today I will speak with you for some time, maybe an hour or so, on evolution of leaders. We talk about leadership qualities, we talk about leaders, and we consider ourselves as leaders. And also, we question whenever we are interviewing some person, what are your leadership qualities? And we are also asked to look among people for leadership qualities, inculcate them. But in all these things, that what is common is leadership and leadership qualities. Can we define them? That's very important. There are umpteen number of training programs where a lot of consultants and big trainers would start training programs to train leaders, leadership training programs, building effective teams, personality development, personality traits, all these programs. But every one of us cannot afford those programs nor participate in those programs. Today what I'm going to talk about is, I have a career of 36 plus years. And even before that, I have spent almost 14 years in education, in the university atmosphere, in two different universities, one in India and one abroad. While you are going through your education, you are also involved in several other activities. Over a period of time, the personality traits in you start to develop, and one among them is the leadership quality. And some of us emerge as leaders. All of them need not be emerging as leaders, but some of us definitely emerge as leaders. The question here is that you have to include yourself in those sum of us. If there's only 10% of the people would emerge as leaders, imagine yourself to be the 10%. Don't put yourself in the rest of the 90%. This is very important. I always advise the students saying that, you have to compete. And your first competition is with your classmates, with your close friends in the classroom. And you have to compete and emerge as a winner among them. Because if you participate in a running race among friends, you're not going to concede the first position. You have to compete with your friends, beat them, and evolve as number one. So here is something about evolution of leadership that you need to develop, inculcate those characteristics. Then when I say those characteristics, the question arises, what are those characteristics? And I do not have a list of those characteristics in a particular specific order. I have written down something on a piece of paper. And later on, probably, if that would help, that paper I would, share with ClinoSol, and ClinoSol wants to circulate. That can be circulated. But the point is, it is just a few points, jotted down on a piece of paper. But if you hear me speaking for the next 1 hour or so, and then connect what I have said with those points, an entire story develops, in your mind. So I would like that story to be with you. Now, how do leaders develop? Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Because I have some message saying that, hold on, we have some problem and we'll get you back onto the screen.
It's clear, sir. It's audible, sir.
All the time, there is no break.
No, sir.
Because I got a screen indicating that there is some problem. Hold on. Okay, fine. Now, let us imagine that we can consider that leaders are inborn. Some leaders are born leaders. So, under many in many aspects, people have inborn talents. Let's say speaking. Right from the school days, some people are bold and speak very well, while some people cannot. So simply that, he's an inborn speaker, he's a good speaker. That's fine. But what about the rest of the people? They can develop themselves into very effective speakers over a period of time. And similarly, inborn characteristics would make natural leaders, but everybody needs not be a natural leader. Like everybody is not a painter. Everybody cannot draw very well. But when they make attempts to learn and practice, they become as good as those people who are natural player of singing or drawing or whatever. So leadership is also like this. So one can acquire qualities and evolve or emerge as leaders. So leaders are of two types. One, as I indicated, inborn leaders, and then those people who acquire the characteristics over a period of time and become leaders. In a similar manner, leaders emerge by themselves into leadership positions. And the second type of leaders are chosen leaders. You choose somebody to be your leader, which normally occurs in politics. And maybe in your day-to-day life, classroom characteristics also, you choose somebody as a leader. And who is going to be the class leader? Then most charismatic person or most outspoken person or the person who is very dashing or the person to whom everybody starts listening, we choose that person as leader. Okay. So the chosen person need not necessarily be an ideal leader. Because there is something called among leadership qualities, there is something what is ideal leader. Sometimes the leadership is enforced on you. Sometimes you entrust the leadership into people. See, there are three different characteristics. Enforced on you. I declare myself as leader and say that I am your leader. You have to accept me as your leader and force you to do it. You know, this type of leadership is called dictatorial or autocratic leadership. Would that work? Perhaps work in politics, in political parties, in the government. It could work. You know. In democracy also it works in the sense because democracy, the leader is the person who is chosen by a large number of people. I again want to stop here and say if there is any problem because I again got the screen. The problem. There is no problem, right?
No problem.
Okay. So that type of leadership we are not going to talk about because when you entrust the leadership to somebody or when somebody emphasizes that he is a leader and you accept it, these are not the characteristics of the leaders that we are going to talk about. You know, in political life, if you want to talk about leaders who have emerged as leaders, who by their sheer personality characteristics they became leaders. I can give you examples of Mahatma Gandhi. Chosen or not chosen, he evolved and emerged into a leader of the nation. In modern days, we can talk about, I'm not going to talk about the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. No, I will talk about Abdul Kalam. Everybody accepted him as a leader, because he is one of the most active national presidents we had. He was involved with people. Everybody liked him. It's because of his natural, charisma or characteristics what we talk about. So a leader who evolves as a leader, people accept him as a leader. He never entrusts himself on you saying that I am the leader, you have to act. So we are going to talk about those people who naturally evolve, even though they are not inborn leaders, but over a period of time, they have developed the personality traits to be a leader, which is in general accepted by people, and then accept that, yeah, you are the leader. So that kind of leadership I'm talking about, Now, what are the characteristics that actually bring about leaders? First of the most important aspect of leadership emergence is teamwork. Your ability to work in teams, when you start working in teams, and your ability to work in teams, while working as a team, one or two people would emerge as a leader of the team. How that happens is by virtue of their personality, characteristics and personality traits and the way they deal with people. Okay? So first cardinal rule is that leaders are great team players. Here, one of the things that you need to understand is leader is a team player. And then what is a team player? Team player is the one that he is motivating every person in the team to produce their best performance for the sake of the team, although the leader himself may not be as good as the rest of the people. Okay? So here, I want to bring something which then among a team when people are working, the general tendency is to compete. The general tendency is to provide, to showcase that I am better than the rest of the team. You do a little bit that you not only project your work, but also start indicating that others are not doing good work. Many people will do that. They will come and report saying that, sir, we have done this. Or, in the team we have contributed. Why the other person has not contributed? In fact, the other person probably is contributing as much as you or as well as you, but you are trying to put them down to show that you are better. This is what we call it one-upmanship. And that type of characteristics or that type of dynamics do develop in the team because it's natural. The team leader will understand who is playing that way and who is not playing that way and encourages everybody irrespective of what their contribution is and stimulates everybody to do their best. Remember, everybody cannot do the job to the same level. That we need to understand. That is very important. So you have to understand the strengths and weaknesses of people and play to their strengths for the team benefit while work on their weaknesses and improve them by personal, as person. So a team leader is a person who plays to the strength of the team and he works on the weaknesses and makes them better. That person is a leader. Whereas some people would take advantage and play on the weakness. It's like a tennis match, what I'm talking about. When your opponent is strong, to defeat him, you are going to play to his weakness such that his responses or his reactions would be much lower than what you expect to defeat him. Okay? That is fair because here is a game where either you win or the other person wins. But in a team, you cannot, take advantage of the weakness of your team player to show him in a bad light. If that happens, probably you can evolve or you can emerge as a better player or being regarded as a better player, but the outcome is the team loses. But to make the team win, you have to play to the strengths of the team. So leader's characteristics are to play to the strengths of team. If there are any questions, Priya, if anybody is looking at the questions and if there are questions, if these questions need to be answered in the middle, please disrupt me if necessary because I would answer these questions. Because when I'm moving from topic to topic, sometimes what happens is people lose. They have a question, but if I answer them 30, 40 minutes later, that question loses the context.
Yes, sir. I request all the viewers to post your questions here in the chat window so that sir can answer any questions.
So therefore, what I'm saying is that here the bottom line is the leaders are great team players. They make their team, they work towards the success of their team, at times even sacrificing their own personal glory, but because they think that, winning is important for the team. As a team, we need to succeed. In some cases, what happens is, the leadership is not just with one team, but the leadership is among teams. This usually happens in research lab situations. A research laboratory has a leader or a head of the department, and there are several teams working. Usually, sometimes what happens is the head of the department himself has a team, and then there are 3 or 4 other teams. A healthy competition exists sometimes among these different teams because they are working on different projects and each person is involved passionately or each team is involved passionately in their team, in their project. At times they want to project that their project is most important, And the same dynamics that I talked about within what happens within a small team that to project you are the better player, you would play on the weaknesses of the other person and say that the other person is not good. The same thing happens. When you are working across teams as a leader, what you need to do is that all these 4 or 5 teams put together becomes a research center or becomes an institute. And an institute success is more important than the success of a chosen group. So leaders would again, bring in their thinking, their discretion, and support the strength for the for the success of the institution, while start working on the weaknesses of the weaker teams to make the teams stronger. These are the characteristics of leadership that are necessary. Now let me tell you one thing. Some of the aspects that I am describing to you are what I have learned over a number of years. Okay? Some of the situations I have faced even when I was a student, I didn't know how to handle those situations at that time. And probably I fell victim of those circumstances. Or I was not courageous enough to face them the way I'm supposed to face them. But then you start your work life, career. Again you face similar situations. Then again you are falling victim of certain situations. Sometimes you come victorious, Then you move to a leadership position. Here, the leadership position is not because you are a good leader. Because of your seniority, you are promoted and you are head, Now as a head, you are also leader. As a head, you have the power. You can tell people to shut up or get out or whatever, But how do you react when you have power in your hand? So during learning, during evolution phase, if you learn certain things, they would help you to become a better leader. Leader is a person who is respected. Leader is a person who is accepted by all. That's very important. It is not necessarily that leader is somebody who is always right. That is incorrect. Please remember that. Leaders can be wrong, but leaders
Now, your screen is frozen, sir.
I was asked to rejoin. How is it now?
It's okay now. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was asked to rejoin, so there was a problem. So what I was saying just before I was cut is that even though you become, through your experience, a head of the department or a head of a group of people, leadership qualities are very essential. In order to be accepted by all of them, they would definitely accept you as a head of the department. But accepting a person because they have no other choice, or accepting a person with all the choices that we do consider him as leader, that requires certain development characteristics. Now, I'll give you a few examples, simple examples, how people have to change themselves. Say, when you are working as a student, you have good teachers and bad. In a way, teachers are. So, the bad teacher is not really bad, but you consider him as bad. So this is what, the bad teacher, in your mind, you cannot explain very well. A bad teacher in your mind, when you ask a question, hello?
Sir, Sir, you are audible, sir. You are audible, sir. Sir, are you able to hear me, sir? I think there is some network interruption. Sir will be rejoining. All the viewers, if you are having any questions, please post your questions. Meanwhile, Sir joins will ask the questions. Sir has rejoined.
I really don't know where the problem is, because I have the internet is unstable here. I don't know, but
Most probably the network, sir. But it's perfect now, sir.
okay, right. So a teacher who cannot explain you very well, according to you. Then you have teachers who say that they are fantastic, they answer all the questions, and they have the knowledge, they have the ability to explain. But when you become a teacher, you have to do two things. One, to try to emulate your good teacher. Can you be as good as that? While you try not to be the bad teacher. A bad teacher is, according to you, he did not have certain characteristics. So when you are there as a teacher, you fall into the same problem and then develop some characteristics as a bad teacher. So you have to overcome those characteristics and say that I consider these are, characteristics of a bad teacher in my teaching or in my, behavior or in my way of dealing with students. I'm not going to do that. It is necessary. So learning from your experience makes you a good teacher. I can tell you some examples here, my life examples. When I worked my first job, I was reporting to my manager. Names are not important. But according to me, that wasn't helpful to my field of expertise or to me in person, to the area that I represent. I don't want to go. I worked for 5 years. So during that 5 years, I faced tremendous hardship, in developing my area. Uma, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Sir, I can hear you. A little breakage was there, sir, but still it's audible.
Yeah, so that's my problem right now. I know I'm facing these things. So the next moment, I moved into the similar position in another college. The first thing I decided is that whatever I have faced when I reported to somebody, the same should not be faced by people who report to me. The humiliation or the disappointments or the disagreements or the sadness or frustration that I faced should not be faced by others when they are dealing with, So that is the emergence of a good manager, because worked with a bad manager, understood what are all the bad, bad circumstances or bad situations that a manager can create, and know that you don't do that, Such are the characteristics necessary for leaders to emerge as leaders. Hello? Can someone respond to me to say it's all right? Clear?
It's audible, sir. It's clear.
It's audible, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So now that's exactly what I was trying to say. You learn out of your mistakes and you learn out of your experiences and implement them in such a way that, what you consider is bad, you should not, what you consider as good and you enjoy, you should implement them to become a leader. I have to tell you something else here, because some people would go in a mode that I suffered because, and then I came to this point. So all the people who are junior to me have to suffer and come to the same point. And many people I have seen, when they are dealing with their juniors, they would deal exactly the way they were dealt when they were juniors. And I even questioned somebody, why do you have to do that? Just because you face the problem, the others should also not face. Or otherwise they don't learn. But you see, that is not the characteristics of a good leader. What is leadership's most important characteristic is, leaders have to be sensitive and sensible. A sensitive personality is a person who is sensitive to others' feelings. I am very sensitive. If somebody hurts me, I get hurt, right? But when I am sensitive enough to other people's feelings, whichever situation that makes me feel hurt, I would not create the same situation for others when I am dealing with them. That is sensibility. So a sensitive person, if he behaves sensibly, he will ensure that people who are dealing with him are not hurt. And that's one of the very important characteristics of the leader. Leader has to be empathetic. A leader is, I have 10 people working with me and I empathize with them. You know what is meant by empathy? Empathy is actually just not sympathy. Suppose somebody comes and tells you that, sir, I'm not well, or somebody in my house are not well. Sympathizing person would say that, oh, I'm very sorry, I will get back and start doing the work, Because that person thinks that, oh, I'm very sorry, I pray for them and then get well soon, but get back to the work. There are two aspects here. You sympathize with his situation, but really not sympathize with him. You're not even looking at whether he can produce the best that day. Empathy is not like that. Empathy is, you start playing your role. If I were to be in your shoes, what I will do, I'm very sorry, I didn't realize that you have such a problem at home. Why don't you take a day off, Why don't you take a day off? Probably you are better needed at home. You can go home today, take care of them. We can do the work tomorrow, there's no problem. This is empathy. What would happen in that situation? Person working with you is so happy and so relieved that he goes home, but he comes with a resolve next day that whatever I have not done, I would complete this today and probably much more. So by that, you are creating through your empathetic, empathizing with the people, you are bringing the best out of the people. If you just show a little sympathy and say that, no, that's okay, maybe you can give them a call, get back to work. That does not give the same feeling in that individual. He would simply say that, what is this boss? He doesn't understand, he makes me work. And he cannot focus on the work because he is not happy with his boss. Second, he is not happy with the situation at home. So that work would be ruined, and then later on at the end of the day, the boss would say that, oh, come on, you spoiled the experiment, So that little sympathy that showed in the morning has no results, in fact it has negative. And such persons will not be regarded as good leaders. So leaders need to be empathetic. So we need to understand that in our day-to-day life, do we really empathize? What do we do? For empathizing, one of the characteristics a leader has to develop is to listen. Leaders are great listeners. You have to listen to people. It's absolutely essential that you listen to people. When I was working as the head of the department, I was not a good leader at all. In the beginning, I was actually scared when people approached me with their problems. Because I'm scared because, when these guys will tell me the problems, then they force me to take some decisions in their favor, so how do I prevent that from? Maybe he wants 10 days leave, so he's telling me all this story and I have to give him the 10-day leave. Then automatically you will go on defensive. So you don't listen to him completely and you will cut him. So the sympathizer would simply say that the person would come and tell you that, sir, today, this morning, my wife got a bad backache and this thing. Okay, fine. Just, ask her to go to your doctor, see. Because you're not even listening. You have not completed what his story is. While if you are empathizing, is that true? Tell me about it. What has happened? This is a tremendous difference in interpersonal relationships here. So I want to bring you another characteristic here. Leaders are, what you said, wonderful people skill. Their management of people is fantastic, And how do they do that? By empathizing, by listening. Now I can tell you one example here. When I was working in a company, I was the head of the department, the people reporting to me. As I said already, I declared that earlier I was scared and I was, worried that somebody would, blackmail me, emotional blackmail me and all that. I used to listen to a little bit and then if I'm not happy or if I'm not interested in listening, then I used to look at my computer or start reading a paper and tell me what it is and things like that. And not meeting eye to eye. Then one gentleman, whom even today I regard him as, he is a guru to me, because I learned many things from him, even though he is reporting to me. This is something that I want to tell you. Leaders learn all the time, They learn from every situation, from everybody. It's not that I'm a leader, people have to listen to me, I don't have to listen to people, I know everything, they don't know anything. This kind of characteristics would not bring you leaders. You will see leaders behaving this way, but they are not ideal leaders. So I'm talking about the evolution of an ideal leader who is liked by everybody. That person was telling me something. And 2 minutes or something I listened, attention span, 2 minutes I listened. And then I started shuffling paper here, this thing, that thing. And suddenly he stopped and said, thank you sir, I'm leaving. Then I looked up and said that, you are telling me something, why are you leaving? He said, no sir, you are not interested in listening. I started, my ego got hurt. Why the hell he is telling me like that? No, you are wrong. I'm multitasking. Blah, blah, blah. That's not important. You can multitask. But I got a feeling that you are not listening to me. I want to bring and explain to you something that's in my mind. When you are not listening, it's not a good time for me to tell you, so I'm going. You opt in. But a characteristic of, if a person is sensitive and sensible, he will start thinking about it. And I can say that I'm sensitive and sensible also. Then I started thinking about it. What did I do to hurt him like that? But I didn't immediately run behind him and then broach the topic. I just left it like that. After a long time, when we were doing this performance evaluation, I was describing, explaining something to him. He was only listening to me and then he's saying, yes sir, you are right and all this. Then I asked him a question. But at this point, I want to stop and I want you to tell me what deficiencies that you are observing in me as your manager, head, or boss, whichever word you use. And he told me, sir, you have a fantastic knowledge and you can explain very well, but you have one habit that you don't listen to people. And he point blank told me. That day I realized that, yes, I have that characteristic. That because of a weakness, because that people will tell me some story and, But the point is, all that fears would go away when you start listening to them. So listening is very important. When you listen completely and empathize with that person, you suddenly realize that the person is genuinely telling you something or he is trying to take you for a ride. After listening only you can definitely clearly see through them. For that you have to listen. So leaders are great listeners. So please understand that. So what I'm trying to say is that leaders are sensitive, they are sensible, they are great listeners, and they are empathetic. They emphasize. Leaders are democratic. You know, it's not autocratic decisions. That means I'm head of a team and the team all sitting there and they say, okay, I decided that we all go there. You know. Then you are just telling the team that they don't have any opinion, and even if they have an opinion, it doesn't matter because you already made a decision. In a democratic process, what do? You would tell everybody about, ask for their opinion if we need to do it this way and get their buy-in or agreement, for doing certain things the way you propose. Or you outrightly go to them and tell them, what are your proposals, guys? And they will bring their proposals and then you analyze their proposal and show that if the choice, the path that you chose for your team, if that is better than their proposal, then automatically it would emerge and people say that, sir, yes, whatever you have said is correct, let us do it that way. Or if the team players or team members has a better idea, then you can correct your decision and then take their decision. Everybody is happy and the team wins. So this is what is the democratic leadership means. It doesn't mean that, you have to concede all the time. Because some leaders always have self-doubt. Self-doubt is that if I concede, then they won't regard me as a leader. Many people have this problem. If I concede to the other person, scientists have this problem. If there is a head of the department as a scientist and then five group leaders are there, the head of the department believes that he is a better scientist than all the 5 group leaders. Therefore, he would not agree with them or he would not allow them to think their way and impose it because he has to show that he is a better scientist. But you see, the point is, management and leadership has nothing to do with better science. You don't have to be a better scientist to be a better manager, to be a better leader. You have to be a better manager to manage people, and you have to be a better leader to promote, whatever is good in your teams, to bring the best out of the team. It need not be your idea. This is what people have to understand. Leaders do understand that. And so they promote and encourage people to bring in their best and accept them. See, I have seen people in my life, a head of the department would bring all his group leaders and would introduce them to some visiting scientist and say that he is this, this guy is this. And when they try to tell something, the head of the department would say, yeah, that's correct, but we don't do it that way, we do it this way. So he cuts them and then projects himself as the scientist in charge par excellence. What is that characteristic that is bothering him is because he is worried, he has self-doubt. If I introduce this person to the other person and if that other person is impressed by him, this is the head of the department thinking, then the other person or whoever visitor would go away thinking that the head of the department doesn't know anything, the other guy knows. Honestly speaking, this self-doubt would make bad leaders and people hate the leadership in those characteristics. If you, as the head of the department, if you tell that, I have Mr. X here, a group leader, he is excellent in this field and you want to know anything, this is the guy, you have to approach him. Don't ask me, go to him because he is the best. In the process, what happens is, he is demonstrating his leadership quality by promoting his team member as the best. Because leaders do understand that teams, when they have best people, the teams win. And how you can bring the best of the team is by promoting their greatness. It's like just like a cricket team captain, right? You know, he can be a batsman, he can be a wicket keeper, he can be a bowler. But they,
Now your screen got frozen, sir.
I guess there is connection problem again.
Team, can you contact sir to rejoin, please?
yeah. Am I back?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sometimes the screen goes blank and then it stays connected. Okay, so that's important. You have to recognize and promote your people. You know, you should not think that by promoting them you are putting yourself down. You should not have the self-doubt. You are a leader. You know, your job is to promote them. You know, to showcase their greatness, such that they perform their best and the team wins. So this is the characteristic of leader. There is one other thing, decision making. This is also important. Leaders make decisions, as well as leaders allow people to make decisions. Here there is one very important aspect. Whenever a person makes a decision, you have to own the decision. Ownership of a decision is that many of us students will make a decision, but the consequences of that decision when it comes to ownership, they are not, strong enough to say that I have made that decision under those circumstances. Those people who stand by their decision, they have to accept the outcome of the decision and say that the outcome is because I made the decision. And then if you have made a mistake, you have to accept it. My decision was a mistake. I'm sorry. Again, I can bring a cricket parlance here. The captain, when the toss is made, he'll make a decision whether to call the toss, heads or tails, and then when he wins, to choose whether batting first or bowling first. And once the decision is made, the outcome, the captain has to own the decision and the outcome. People may call it's a wrong decision. Of course, it's a 50-50 choice whether it can be right or wrong. But if the captain says that no, I wanted to take batting only, but the selectors pushed me, and then the coach indicated to me, and somebody else, just before leaving, he said that no batting, you have to take bowling only, something like that. Then that's not correct. Then you should not take the decision. The point is, leaders take decisions and own their decision. And if something goes wrong with the decision, the leader stands up and says that I've taken the decision, it was wrong. I forced everybody to accept the decision and it's not their fault. But bad leaders, what they do is, they start, whenever things go bad, they will start finding excuses. Oh, that fellow has told me. So you see that fellow. In other words, if you want to be a good team leader and be regarded as the leader of the team, you should take a decision, own it, and the consequences are success. You should not say that I made the decision, so we became successful because of me. No. You have to then say that the entire team worked towards success. So, it's the team performance. So, everybody should be congratulated. They are responsible for the success, even though the decision is made by you. Because you did not make the decision for yourself, you made the decision for the team. Suppose if the decision has resulted in loss, then you say that, oh, these guys are bad, because they didn't want me to take the decision. Since I have taken the decision, they didn't play to their potential. And, the leader, what he will say? I took a wrong decision and the team suffered with a defeat responsible for that defeat. I'm sorry. Because those guys would have really won it, if we had taken the other decision. But the mistake is all me. So owning the decision, owning the responsibility, and celebrating success with the team, and the loss or defeat, taking the blame on himself. Then immediately the team thinks, oh my God, he's such a leader. And then they say that, no sir, no, he's not. These are the circumstances under which we fail. So they will collectively start accepting the failure as a team. So this is very important for a leadership quality. And at this point, I would ask all my young friends, all what I've said, perhaps you might have heard also. But you have to apply and say that, do I do that under those circumstances? Because saying is one thing and actually doing it is something different. Practice is different. So if you start inculcating that, owning your decision, and then be responsible for your decision. And if things go well, then there is all the people who are involved. If things go bad, and you say that because of my decision, I'm sorry, my apologies. So here one more point. Leaders always apologize if it makes others feel comfortable. Leaders apologize if they make a mistake. Leaders apologize even if they haven't made a mistake, but if somebody else thinks that you have made a mistake, then you say that, oh, then I'm sorry, I have made that mistake. But why do you have to apologize when you are wrong? When you are not wrong. This is so many people would raise, I can't do that. But let me tell you, it only tells you that you are humble, and it's necessary for that leaders to be humble, to get the best out of people. So if you have apologized to a person who knows that he is trying to push any publicly apologize, you know what that person would do? Immediately, oh my God, I can't do this, then everybody would blame me. And so they will come back and tell you that we are very sorry, sir. We force you to do that, but we understand now our mistake. And this also, out of my experience, I have several examples to show that when you do that, people would accept their mistake later and then regard you as a leader. This is very important. And you should allow people to make decisions and then give them the confidence. Please make a decision, which is the best thing to buy. Here there are 3 or 4. I remember when I was setting up a lab, one master's M.Pharm student who started working with me, and we are trying to set up a lab. And we had to buy new equipment, which I have not experienced, neither he got experience. And he said, let's work together. We started working together. And this guy was so enthusiastic. He used to go and get all the equipment details, etc. And then, very excitedly discuss with me this and that and that. Then one day I asked him, we have so many choices. This choice. I know what we need to buy, but you tell me from all the things that you have, which is the best equipment that we should buy. I give you that option, you do it. He was so excited and he said that this is the best equipment with this. And he came up with a configuration and we went and bought it. Cost something like 40 lakhs or something. It's not a small decision, that everything. But when the entire equipment was installed and the first experiment was done, the person, he was so happy and look at the glow in his face and he said that, sir, everything is working the way we expected. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. In fact, I only encouraged him to make the decision, and he took the right decision. Because I knew as a leader at that time that he is more equipped to make that decision than me. Because he did all the groundwork, And if I read and compete with him and start making a decision, that's well and good. But if I allow him to make the decision, he owns the decision and ensures that the work is ensures that everything is successful. So leaders have that characteristics also. Even today, this boy which I've talked about is somewhere in Singapore in a very respected position. He still calls me and he says that, he accepts that, sir, you taught me something. Here, I'm just trying to tell you that, these are the leadership qualities that need to be inculcated, to be regarded as leaders. Okay. Now, I talked about people's leaders should have great interpersonal skills or people skills. So remember one thing. When you come across people, you would find some people would come and they can't get along with others. They always have complaints. I can't work with that fellow. I can't work with this fellow. We don't get along well. Now, as a leader, when you face people that way, you have to ensure that each person needs to work with the others. I read a book, a great book, in that somewhere the author writes, if somebody tells you in an organization that, God, it's difficult to work with these people, they are not good, when somebody says that, one second. Hello? Yes? Right? Yeah, it is all done, I'm in a webinar, so I cannot talk to you right now. And we received it. Thank you. Yeah, right. So in that book, the author writes, that guy should be immediately fired, because in any organization you have to work with people. You are not going to work with, animals, or you are not going to work with trees, or you are not going to work with, equipment. Okay? Organizations are made up of people, so you have to work with people. So wherever you are as a leader, you need to work with people. And working with people is not, therefore you have to have wonderful or great interpersonal, skills, or we call it people skills, how to manage people. All the points that I have talked about so far are all related to people skills only. Be sensible, be sensitive, empathetic, allow people to make decisions, allow them to make, celebrate successes, and take acceptability for defeat, or losses, or, when there is some setback. All these things are to ensure that your people are happy working with you, so they produce the best and make yourself and your team and your organization very successful. That is the leadership quality that we need to develop. Good leaders would make sure that everybody in the team works well and produce the best. So that's the characteristic that I was going to talk about. But regarding interpersonal skills, I'll tell you, I have a great example which I learned, one of my co-workers in one organization. So we used to do something. I was the head of the department and working with 4 teams. So I have my own team, and then I have great people working with me. They're very, very senior, and then they used to listen to me and they used to advise. And the rest of the teams, people who used to come and say that, no, I can't work with this boy or this girl, take me out, give me somebody else, because this person is not getting along. Good. I used to take such people into my group and transfer good people to the other group. So somebody in my team asked, sir, if you do like that, your team becomes unsuccessful, because we like you, so if you bring other people who are not so good, rejected by other teams into ours, then I asked one question, but you can work with them, right? I said, yes, we can work with them. So let's work with them. But other teams have better persons and they will be successful. I said, their success is our success, so let's work towards that. I am confident that you people are capable of training anybody and work with the set of people that I give you and be successful, while other group leaders who are complaining about I don't have the right people, when I take the complaint away and take the right people, the wrong people out and then put the right people, then the onus of performing falls on them and they have to perform. Now they have no complaint to make. They said, oh, this is wonderful, sir. Yes, we will make you successful. This way what happened, we set up a balance among the team that people are happy, they can't complain, Otherwise some group leader would come and say, I can't produce the result because you gave me wrong people and they are not doing good work. So on one side, those people are not real good leaders because the leaders won't behave like that, but I have to ensure that they also produce the best, in order to understand. In this particular sense, we're dealing with one person and that person could not work in one lab. The person said, no, I don't want to work in that lab. Move me to another lab. And we moved to another lab. There also that person said, I can't work with that person. Move to another lab. Then the person wanted some accommodation and we suggested this is the accommodation we share with one person. The person after some time came back and said, oh, that accommodation is good, but I can't work with that person. It is horrible to stay with that person. Then I said, what else you want me to do at this particular point? Maybe in the other department, that lab I like, can I work there? Here, let us do one thing. You are asking me for something beyond what I can do. I can't put you in the other department. In my department, I can move you around. I can set up your accommodation and all those things. All these things we do as a part of what we do to our people. But remember one thing, very simple story. You could not work in lab A, you could not work in lab B, you could not work in lab C, you could not work with somebody who is here. You want to stay with a person and then you cannot stay with the person. But have you realized that the problem doesn't exist with any one of those people but exists with you? Why do you say so? That everywhere you are the common person. All of them are willing to make sacrifices, but you are not willing to make a sacrifice. So it's that you need to change your attitude to work with people because everybody cannot behave the way you expect them to behave. You have to accept them. When you accept them and start working with them, very good results can be produced. Leaders would accept people for what they are. You cannot change them. You can make small changes if they are willing to learn. Otherwise, you have to work with them. So it is very important that leaders have those exceptional people skills. Okay. And one of the biggest characteristics that leaders would have is they learn out of their mistakes. It's a myth that if you say he's a great leader, how can he make a mistake? Everybody will make mistakes. But whenever you make mistakes, if you look at the mistake as an opportunity to learn something, you made a mistake, so next time you don't do that. And why that was a mistake, you analyze that and say, oh, okay, I did like this, that's why it is a mistake. Wonderful. So if you keep learning out of your mistakes, it doesn't matter whether you make mistake or not, but there's a great learning. So when you make a decision can be right or wrong. The right decision is the right thing to do and the wrong decision is a mistake, So remember that your choice of people, your selection of people, your, entrusting people with some responsibilities, all if they are not successful, they seem to be mistakes. But you have to learn from them. And if I entrusted a job to a particular person and that was a mistake of entrusting because he is not good in doing that, but in that process what I learned is that I learned what he is good at so I can give him the task that he can do very well and ensure that I don't make such mistake in the future. So every time when you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn something new. Leaders would do that. Okay? So that's very important that leaders evolve by learning from their mistakes. Some people would make the same mistake, make the same problem, same outcome, and say, oh, I made the mistake. Again, next time they will make the mistake again. They can't be leaders because they can't set up the examples that leaders need. Because they are not learning from the mistake but blindly repeating the mistakes. Now, there is one more aspect that is very important in leadership. It's probably the last point that I want to talk about, is conflict management. Conflicts between two people, or conflict between an ideology, or conflict between a group and another group, resolving them is very difficult. And leaders would work hard to resolve the conflict. And in order to resolve a conflict and make a win-win situation, see, you might have heard about a win-win situation. That means there is a conflict that would lead to a loss-loss, lose-lose situation. But by resolving the conflict, you can come to a win-win situation. With two people, the resolution should not be win-loss or loss-win. Because if it is win-loss, that means you are right, he is wrong, so you will do this way, and the other person is wrong. That's a win-loss situation. The winner is happy, the loser is unhappy. The winner contributes, the loser stops contributing. The outcome is not ideal. We have to understand that. It's a lose-lose situation. Lose-lose situation is when it would be a loss-loss situation, or both people lose and the team loses completely. Is when the conflict is not resolved. The conflict needs to be resolved in time. And in that resolution, it should be a win-win situation. And for that win-win situation, sometimes you have to make trade-offs. Trade-offs means you have to give up something to gain a lot. Okay, do this, but now, you can do this part, you can do this part, you can give up this, you can give up this, etc. It's a win-win situation. Okay. Then both of the people would say, oh yeah, okay, this is fine, it is better than, nothing. Then it's a win-win situation, the outcome is again result-oriented. This is actual conflict resolution, because conflict, in the house it is conflict, in the work it is conflict, on the road it is conflict. You have to resolve that. Leaders would resolve the conflicts in a manner that it is a win-win situation. Sometimes, to get best out of a situation, a conflict can be introduced in a team. And this is what we call a positive conflict. You introduce a positive conflict between two people or two parts of a team such that they start functioning. That means you are questioning them in such a way, oh, if you do not perform and produce this result, maybe I am forced to give this to the other group because they are also competent and they want to take this task out of you. But these people are possessive of the task. And these people would say that, no, we don't want to give the task to them. So you introduce the conflict. Now what is the resolution? They have to prove and perform better. The other people are already happy with what they have, but you have introduced this conflict which doesn't exist to get the best out of this team, while other team is already happy. This is what positive. And one has to be very, very careful in introducing a positive conflict because it should not get itself into a negative conflict and boomerang into a big fight between the groups where, resolving that fight becomes very difficult. So leaders are capable of conflict management. There is also something called personality traits. The personality traits are, there's a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 9. 1 being not wanting anything and want to stay back and, doesn't want to get involved at all. 9 is want to get involved and get everything done as per their requirement. So the personality, 1-1, aggressiveness and conceding. This is what it is. A 1-1 personality doesn't want to be aggressive, doesn't want to concede, doesn't want to, involve commitment and aggressiveness. Doesn't want to be aggressive and doesn't want to commit. And that 1-1 person, you cannot have 1-1 personalities in your team and make the team successful. To motivate that person, it's very difficult because he is not aggressive nor he is committed. That's 1-1 personality. 1-1 personalities are always bad for the team. So without spending too much of a time on developing a 1-1 personality, you should leave that person. The next group is, they have mediocre performance. It's called 5-5. Partly aggressive and partly committed. Part of the time they visit them. And they are there, but they can't emphasize their position. They can't demonstrate that they can perform very well. But they project the image that they are great workers. This is mediocre. They project themselves as great workers, but they really do not contribute. Such people are, you have to observe them carefully and use them the way they are fit to be used. This is also very important in personality traits and building effective teams. There are certain personalities who are 9-1. They are aggressive. They don't care. They will trample on others, but they are go-getters. They will bring it. These aggressive people are very good to have in the organization, but in their aggression, when they achieve results, they leave a lot of people, a lot of bodies, a lot of bruises, a lot of ruffled feathers. So somebody needs to be, unruffling those feathers and, applying, soothing creams to the bruises in order to get the work done. So sometimes you require some 9-1 personality. 1-9 personalities are those personalities who are great workers, but they're not aggressive, but they always do work to please others. Oh, if that pleases you, I will do it. I'm doing this work because somebody else is requiring that, and they are also good to have, because they would contribute in a pleasant manner, but you have to ask them in such a manner. And go-getters or aggressive people would go without, asking, their bulldoze. The leader has a personality trait which is regarded as 9-9. So where it is necessary, he is absolutely aggressive. Where it is necessary, he is absolutely pleasing to the others. It's a combination of both. A very rare personality trait, but good leaders are all have that. Where needed, they're very aggressive, promote, to complete the task, go-getters, but at the same time, conceding and empathetic to people that they will make the entire team happy, who are working with that leader. So I think I talked about so many characteristics, and these are the characteristics that are essential for leaders to evolve the leaders. So if you are conscious of these characteristics, and if you are conscious of what you are doing and the way you are doing and the way others are reacting to your actions, activities, you can change your ways where it is necessary to make yourself more empathetic, more influential, and more successful and emerge as a leader. In a team play, when team workers are looking observing, and when the choice comes for them to choose a leader, they are going to choose that person who is gentle, supportive, empathetic, and person who makes decisions and owns decisions and owns responsibility. So, such a person, if they spot in teams, they naturally choose him as a leader. So, as I said, you don't have to declare yourself as a leader. You would be chosen as a leader when you demonstrate these characteristics. And these characteristics can be built over a period of time when you are conscious of your characteristics. There are some people who are very aggressive and they don't give a damn about what others feel. They also make leadership. They also are successful. But they leave a lot of bruised body. People who leave and work with them and leave and go to some other place, they don't talk good about them. They say, yeah, he's good. But then, my God, working with him is, really nightmare. So, we are talking about, it's like an emperor who establishes his empire by killing all the people that he come across, like his enemies, or an emperor who would, conquer, but at the same time consider those people as his own people and be regarded as a great emperor. So there are two different things, but both ways leaders emerge. But you can help yourself emerge as a leader by developing these characteristics. You have to be sensitive, sensible. You have to be a great team player. You have to be empathetic. You should be democratic, allowing people to take decisions. You should be a great listener. Okay, you should own your decisions. You should be able to celebrate success and take responsibility of failures. See, the person who says, I did that, the person who is a I speaker, he will be I every time when there is a success. But when there is a difficulty, when there is a loss, he would immediately try to find who is the scapegoat to put the blame on. Such people cannot become leaders. Leaders evolve learning from their mistakes. They do make mistakes. It's not that I'm a great leader. I say, I'm a great scientist. My science cannot be wrong. So these aspects don't go. For that matter, everything I talked about is personal ego should be put aside for a great leader. He should derive satisfaction out of team success of others, and automatically he would be regarded and chosen as a leader. Thank you very much, and I'll take some questions. I hope I made myself very clear regarding how leaders evolve or emerge.
Yes, sir. You have covered many points which even I have not heard in my life, and they are very useful. And as you said, some are natural in born leaders, some have to inculcate the habits, and they also can grow as leaders. I have a few questions which I have collected from our students. Some students are asking how to overcome fear and self-doubt. So when we see such situations, like if a person is from a remote village, first comes to a city, so obviously the fears would be there, the self-doubt would be there. How can I, speak to the community here and who are born and brought up in cities or the urban areas, and they'll have that language problem. You see some specific areas, they have their native tinge in their accent. So how can they overcome all these fears and self-doubt as they can emerge as a leader?
Yeah, so it's not directly related to emergence of leadership. Yes, we talk about the self-doubt. We talked about people with self-doubt, what they do to overcome that or to cover that up. They become bad leaders. See, leadership qualities are not possessed by people who are born and brought up in urban atmosphere and not rural atmosphere. It's not that. Uh, Among the rural atmosphere, in villages also, great leadership emerges because some of the characteristics I was talking about, team player characteristics and what kind of interpersonal skills that they develop, such conflicts and resolution of conflicts and all those things are more in, opportunities are more in villages than in cities. Because in cities, people don't get into conflict. They have no time, But however, in the village, most of the time it's a conflict. People have a lot of time to they introduce conflict. So, how to resolve a conflict? The characteristics are people can get them more better when they are from a rural background. Now, self-doubt is not a real self-doubt, it is a lack of self-confidence. There are two different things. Lack of self-confidence is because do I know, if there is a question, if there is an answer, if there is a subject, if there is a capability. Self-doubt is whether I can be capable, whether I can do that. Self-confidence is inability to discuss that. Maybe I'm not 100% correct in describing them, but then I'm just trying to say that, I have to think through the perspective of what others are thinking. I have knowledge, okay, I can talk, but when I am on a podium, on a platform facing people, if I do not have self-confidence enough, I won't speak well. Not because I don't have the knowledge, nor I don't have the, capability in that area. The lack of confidence is because I may not be able to express, well enough. I can talk very well, but you want me to talk about a particular topic which I do not know anything about. And I have a self-doubt about my ability to talk about that topic. But you still force me to speak about it. I will talk something, because of my ability to talk, but probably I won't add any substance to that. Both can be regarded as weaknesses in individuals, right? So, if people who are suffering that, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
People who are suffering from that, they have to do a strength-weakness analysis. It is called strength-weakness opportunities threats, SWOT analysis. It's a structured way, but people can do a simple strength-weakness analysis. That I have this strength, I have this weakness. Say for example, I can drive well. So my strength is car driving, but I can't speak your language, my weakness. So my strength cannot be useful to you, right? You understand? Suppose if I join as a driver with a family whose language I don't understand, right? So then the weakness can be overcome by learning the language. So like that, if we put down what is our strength and what is our weakness, the weakness is resulting because of a lack of a capability. So if you get trained in that, that will be over, So then it becomes a strength. This type of analysis can be done to overcome that.
Self-analysis is the key. Self-analysis is the key to overcome our weakness.
Because it's in a structured way, in a personality development, you have to do it, because you cannot give this as an excuse. I can't speak English well, so therefore you have to accept me what I am, Definitely can be accepted if English is not a requirement for your job performance, right? But if your job performance is entirely depends upon the English, and unless you overcome the strength, how can we take? I tell you, we have taken, I was working in a company called Nectar Therapeutics, which is an American company. So we're hiring people. So we have two aspects in hiring them. One, the ability to perform, their core competence, and their ability to communicate in English. So what happened? The core competence, suppose if it is analytical chemistry or working on mass spec or ability to do formulation work or biology work, they're great people, but their language of communication, their ability to communicate in English is doubtful. Because we're not just talking about ability to communicate with other Indians, we're talking about ability to communicate with people, co-workers in America, right? So how do we have to do that? Either we hire these people or we go and then look for a person who is not only good at work but also good at talking. But what we did, we filled the bucket by bringing the most competent people in the field, not really looking at their English competence, spoken English competence. Yeah. So how did we overcome that? By putting a structured training program in English for all these to make them competent. Hello?
You're audible, sir.
Yeah. So that way an organization has overcome that problem, right? By putting a very, very structured English speaking and training program that people were made competent and confident enough to communicate with other teams across, telephone or, telecons or videocons, where other people are Americans or of different origin and they can speak English. They have to understand what these people are speaking, and these people have to understand what those people are speaking, apart from ability to perform the work. But when we talk about an individual, organizations cannot come into play. So the individual has to look at what is my strength and the weakness and work on the weakness to overcome and become a strong personality.
So there is one more question from one of our students. How to deal with a bad leader or a tough boss?
I didn't quite get the question.
Pardon me, sir?
Can the question be repeated? I don't know how it. I couldn't hear it, sir.
How to deal with a bad leader? If the reporting leader is a bad person, how can someone deal with that person? Sir, am I audible?
It was cut for some time. Yeah.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yeah.
How to deal with a bad leader? So how to deal with a bad leader? If your reporting lead is a bad person, or who is not recognizing you, who is not giving the credit of your work, how to deal with such leaders? We come across generally.
Yeah. There are two ways of working with that. One is companies. Certain companies with a well-structured human resource development program, they give an option of feedback. So you can go and then provide the feedback about your immediate boss to a person who is higher placed, and then he has the responsibility to ensure that there is human resource development and people's skills are. But if autocratic bosses are there, then you have no choice. You cannot go beyond them, because even if we want to go and complain, grievance, it's called. If you want to register a grievance, sometimes the grievance also goes through this fellow, and then he says, oh, he has a grievance against me. So that would aggravate the situation. Organizations. So how do you cope up with working with a bad boss is also based on organizational culture. If the organization has a culture of having bad behavior towards employees and nobody would bother about those things, the resolution for this is to leave the job and then find another opportunity. You don't have to resign upfront, but then you can always look for a better job and move away from that situation. But before moving away, you can take an opportunity and tell the person openly, face to face, that how you feel, and under these circumstances, this was done and this is not correct. This is done, this is not correct. If they are open, fine, it gets resolved. Say for example, there is a performance evaluation, there is a talk about performance and all that. Under those circumstances, you can raise the question. In some organizations, they don't make any of those, they don't give you any of such opportunities. Such avenues are not available. You just have to work, And if the guy calls you names, then you have to listen to it, if the guy says anything. People who are very sensitive, and they don't want to work under those circumstances. So, instead of a person working under duress, it's always better to look for a better opportunity. Because you cannot change the leader. If the leader is open, want to find out, want to understand how exactly you feel about me, you tell me, then you will not have problem with that leader because he is a good leader. He wants to even modify his behavior to suit you. And first of all, he would not take you to that situation because he has, people skills. I know of many bad leaders, but many a times when you are choked and when you don't like, some people would say that it doesn't matter. They develop a thick skin. It doesn't matter. I would work whatever I am doing. You can call me whatever you want. But I think people who are younger, who are fresh, who join jobs, they face such situations. They do feel choked because they haven't anticipated such situation. They haven't faced such situation. I don't have a very good answer. I work with bad bosses. I complained, and because of complaint, I was reprimanded, and then I said, okay, I will lie low, and then when I move out of that position, I try not to behave like him anytime to my subordinates. If anybody is reporting to me, I should not behave like that. So I learned something out of the bad boss. How not to be like him.
Most of us have come across such situations where we have worked with kind of boss.
No, I can't hear you.
Many times in our lives we come across these people, so, like the bad bosses who don't really recognize our talents and they take the complete credit on them, not giving the credit and discriminators, feelers, make us feel low. This happens many times with most of us, almost all of us, to be frank.
That's why in the evolution of leaders, I mentioned all these points, because if you can overcome all these drawbacks, then convert yourself into a person who is not going to create any one of those drawbacks, then people love to work with you and you are a leader.
Yes. Our topic is all about that. So you are also from the academia. You also work with, educational institutions as a vice VP, and you worked as a principal to the very prestigious St. Peter's institution in Warangal. So when you see the academics, the curriculum or the academics, what kind of changes you want to suggest to the board, which suggests these courses or the subjects to the students? What kind of activities or subjects to be included to make the students right from the academics time to be a future leader?
Very good question. Have I thought about it? Probably I did think about it. But our curriculum, particularly the pharmacy school's curriculum, is driven by the university, is driven by the PCI, and very little emphasis has been placed on personality development or people skills or human resource development or project management or effective team building. These are all interrelated. When we talk about effective team building, we talked about personalities. When we talk about project management, we talk about personalities. When we talk about leadership, we talk about conflict management, we talk about time management. And again, that's a part of project management. So these are all interrelated. Ironically, when you hit the work scene in corporates, in the companies, all these things start coming into play. And if they identify future leaders, future bosses, so people who can be promoted into managerial positions, etc., then immediately the industry would put all these training programs. I had general management program, I have a personality development program, I underwent, effective team building, launching effective teams, personality grid, all those programs, by virtue of working in companies, and then they saw there's a potential. So some of those programs can be included in the pharmacy schools also. It all depends upon the autonomous or the freedom to introduce new courses, So in St. Peter's at one time we used to run these courses, like not me, but the chairman did indicate that they used to have 1 or 2 hours of personality development or, language skills, soft skill development programs. But the university doesn't put it in the curriculum, or the, PCI doesn't put it in the curriculum, but it's very essential. Because the soft skills development, we talk about only communications and writing skills and other skills like paper writing or whatever. Presentation skills, how to make posters or how to make, how to write CV or how to attend interviews. To this point we go, but I think it is absolutely essential that some sort of personality development, interpersonal skills, people skills, and some management skills needs to be developed through a program, Or better still would be something like ClinoSol can develop a package of these skills.
Definitely.
And for fresh graduates, we can train them on those skills, because if they don't acquire them in the classroom, they can acquire them now. So it's preparing them to face, the world outside.
The real
I
world
would say,
challenges.
yeah, and in the college is also not the real world. There are challenges in the college, but then it's in a bubble, only that much, academic. But when you hit the road, then the real world, because opportunities are umpteen, and then are you geared up to take up those opportunities? If you are looking at only one single opportunity, probably not, but then several opportunities. And that's where your personality and your personality traits are put to real test, So it's better to get them trained at that point. Yes.
I've seen many leaders who are not very good at their skills, sir. So how can you correlate this? Having skills, having leadership.
You see, my statement first is that leaders are two different types. One is chosen by others, and second, who evolve themselves as into leadership positions. So all these things what I talked about is a person who is conscious and then want to evolve himself into a better leader. And as he is evolving, people recognize and then go stepwise to the next level. In a way, it also coincides with my career journey, because where I started and then I became a head of the department, or then I was not a good leader. Then I was developing it into a leadership. There they won't say good leader, they will simply say the good head of the department, better manager. These are the words used. To a situation where I led teams from scratch, built them up, and then I realized that yes, I have the leadership capabilities. But simultaneously, I was growing in the professional body like Indian Pharmaceutical Association, and the choice when I became the president, it is also evident that some of the skills that I gained over a period of time, when I started using them in a different setting. You see, earlier settings are all people who are working for you, people who are all working in the same environment or same organization, where you are a vice president, so all the people are reporting to you. But in IPA, nobody is reporting to you. They are all elected and they are equally good positions. Sometimes you have not reached the managing director position, but there are some guy who is sitting as a vice president, but he is a managing director of a company. So dealing with them is something very difficult because these are all different personality traits. But if you have developed these characteristics, they will all regard you as a leader because you are empathetic. I mean, you are
Picking up the
empathetic.
challenges also makes the difference.
No, the biggest thing is that listening to them completely. You have to be the great listener. If you listen to the end from every perspective, so it's very clear what is the point that you are going to say at that time. And when you say that, others will accept it because it is an outcome of listening to everybody. But the person who wants to put his idea, he'll cut the other person, right? He would not allow the other person to say anything. He would cut him in the midway and say that, oh, this is how it is. So that's why I said, you have to be a great listener. You have to listen to the other person completely in order to understand what he is proposing. Then you have to evaluate whether it is ideally good or not. If it's good, accept it. If it's not, then by that time you would already develop a logic because you are listening to it. If you don't listen to it, that logic doesn't come. I can give you an example. You know, I was undergoing a training program, the personality grid program, which was organized for all the people within our organization. So this is an outside party, but it makes teams and then 3 days or 4 days extensive working on team environment. And at the end of the 4th day, the teams were given a small slip of paper and said that if you want to choose the name of a person among your team as your team leader, you write this name, you know. So when the first time all the people from the company were sent to the program, they wanted some 20 or 25 people to come. But we were 47 people. So 25 people went and 2 people were left behind. Me and another person. So what they have done, they have later on the same group, the trainers, the training organization, he said that, okay, we have now a multi-organizational structure developed, you know, so many people from different organizations are coming and joining. So these 2 people can come and join. So we went to the program, but there, our team comprises of different people from different organizations. Earlier batch had people from different departments in the same organization. So if you go there as a head of the department tag, all the rest of the people would still think that he is a manager, he is the head of the department. But here, they don't give a damn whether I come from this organization or that organization, because he is good at his organization. So we had to develop rapport, we had to understand each other. We don't know what the other person is going to do, what is his thinking, etc. All that. 3 days, it was fun. There are aggressive people, they are, as I said, the mild people who are not interested, not contributing that, you know, my point is right, you know, kind of people, everybody. But let me tell you, the experience is such that when my team, finally they wrote the name on the slip, and the trainers announced, you know, my team chose me as the leader. Right? So this is something that is the paper that I have developed. It is an outcome of that, you know, because the thoughts are still in my mind. Then there is an explanation why 2 or 3 people have to come and why this person has chosen. So they have explained. he listens, he's empathetic, he's logical.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All these characteristics, Then I realized that, okay, so these are the characteristics which I developed over a period of time, which is not perceived by people who are working with me all this time, but people who have met me for the first time and worked with me for 3 days. And I'm just simply saying that when I go back and analyze how did I develop this, there is a real life examples of my experiences just started striking me on face, Oh, this is where I picked up this habit. This is where I picked up that habit. It took me 35 years to emerge as a leader, let's say, or 30 years, or 25 years. When I share that experience, I want the student to realize these points and then probably pick them up, all these aspects within 3 years or 5 years. They don't have to go to 20.
Yes.
But working, then when I looked at working for a bad boss is played a significant part in that, because then only I realized how a bad boss behaves. Then only I can correct myself not to behave that way. So sometimes what we consider as a disadvantages in the life are an advantage in this life.
Our experiences are our best teachers.
Correct. That's absolutely.
It was a very valuable session, sir. We have seen what are the qualities a good leader should be having, how to become a good leader, what are the bad qualities you have also discussed, like self-doubt, all these things. Yes, sir.
Asked you.
I don't think there are no more questions from our students, because you have discussed each and every point with very clarity. Questions answered by sir at any point in time. Sir is always ready to answer and guide you people with his experience, with his expertise. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to present a vote of thanks to everyone who has joined us with this session now. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for accepting to our request and gracing this session, live session during this pandemic. Hope that this pandemic will end and we come to a stage where we would like to see you on stage, because every time when I see you, I get that energy. I've listened to most of your sessions and I got inspired many times. Seeing you on the stage is a different experience than seeing you like here digitally. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for everyone joining, and thank you ClinoSol, especially Mujit sir, for giving me this opportunity to present this session of today. And we are really awaiting for more sessions from you, sir. Being an expertise from the pharmaceutical industry, we request you to one more time come with us to do one more program on whatever topic you want to choose, which is going to do good to the students, especially during this pandemic days.
Sure. Certainly we'll do that.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time.
Just let me know how many people actually participated and if there are any comments, etc. On the live streaming. The live streaming, I think it will be posted subsequently to the available, I guess.
Sure, sir. Get in touch with our digital team. I'll get back to you on this.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Correct. Yeah, you too. Yeah. Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.